I'm sorry. I heard this song during my time watching the concert of the Circle of Friends, and I remember I was closing my eyes listening to the music so I wasn't distracted, and I remember thinking, if I open my eyes, I am going to cry. So I did the same thing today, and still that feeling of being born in me, and sorry. So I don't know how to compete with that beautiful, not just song, but sermon. So I am going to try my best, to be quite honest. So when I read this initial passage, I had to look back at a few verses to see what happened before Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting. Verses 39 and 40 say, "Though in those days Mary set out and went in haste to a Judean town in the hill country, where she entered the house of Zachariah and greeted Elizabeth." I tried to imagine what went in haste looked like. Now, I wasn't in the children's message, so I'm going to have, like I normally do, all of you be involved in one aspect of the worship service. So if you could please join me in closing your eyes and imagining with me what this went in haste looked like. There is Mary, a shy teenage Palestinian Jewish girl with olive skin and long dark hair. Her long hair is covered with a scarf to show both her devoted faith and to also help shade her face from the hot sun. She wears sandals on her calloused feet that have scrapes and tan lines. She carries her belongings in her arms or on her back. Her muscles are tense and sweat on her brow gleams in the sun as she walks on uneven and steep terrains of rocks and grass as she climbs the hills to her cousins. She stops various times to drink from streams and eat the bread she and her mother made. And due to her pregnancy, nausea sometimes overwhelms her, as most expected mothers do in their first trimester. Now that is just the practical. Imagine how she is feeling. She is probably scared. She is an unwed woman, or perhaps I should say a girl, pregnant and alone. She probably fears that the women, maybe even Elizabeth, in the Judean town may not accept her. She is probably scared just walking because she does not know what lies behind each turn. Perhaps it's more dangerous terrain, wild animals, or even unkind strangers. Yet maybe she is happy, maybe even joyful, because she is excited to share her miraculous news. Take a moment. Absorb that. Have that consume you just for a moment. You may open your eyes now. Thank you. The next verse says that Mary entered the house. Honestly, if I were Mary, I'd probably greet Elizabeth and Zachariah first, of course, right? After we gave our pleasantries, I would hope Elizabeth would offer me some water and a snack and a place to put up my feet. It was a 5-day journey, and I am pregnant. I am carrying precious cargo. I deserve it. Well, after saying all that, that's a bit selfish of me, but you get my point. Yet Elizabeth says more than just pleasantries. She says, "Blessed are you among women." That may have made Mary pause for a moment. Blessed am I? Even though Mary fully embraced and faithfully believed the angel Gabriel's words about carrying the Messiah, most people would be suspicious of this. Mary being pregnant this way was dangerous because in first century Palestine, women were stoned to death for having children out of wedlock. Yet Mary was blessed. Just like Elizabeth and all other women in first century Palestine, Mary was on the margins. In this patriarchal society, women were solely seen in the domestic sphere, where they gleaned fields, cooked meals, and were primarily childbearers and mothers. If women could not physically deliver a child, it would bring shame and humiliation to the family. However, Mary was carrying and in 9 short months delivering the Messiah. The fruit of Mary's womb, this Jesus, this Messiah, will soon be coming into this world in a very human way. When we celebrate his joyous birth, we forget that the minutes before involved breathing, sweated brows, pushing, and perhaps the loss of circulation of Joseph's right hand. Jesus, this Emmanuel, came as a fragile baby who longed for the skin-to-skin contact of his mother Mary. He was a very human baby who cried out to find the cooing shh of his mother. Jesus depended on Mary. Jesus was blessed to have Mary. Mary was blessed to have Jesus. Although Jesus is our ultimate gift, the one who blesses us on the Sermon on the Mount, the one who blessed the elements the night before he was arrested, Mary was also a gift. She was a blessing. She blessed us with the one who had turned the world upside down. However, Mary's story does not end with Jesus' birth. She is revealed as a relatable mother even today. And I'll share just a couple of quick stories to use as examples. One is later found in the Gospel of Luke. Mary, Joseph, and Jesus go to a festival in Jerusalem. And on their way home, Mary and Joseph realize they cannot find Jesus. It took them 3 days to find him. Honestly, I would have a heart attack if I was a mother. But when they found him, he was completely fine, listening to the teachers at the synagogue. I wonder what Mary and Joseph would have done. I think there would have been some grounding involved. But that's besides the point. Now in Mark, Jesus returns to Nazareth, and Mary is concerned about the mob that approaches him when he is preaching on the Sabbath, which you can see in the Bible is a big no-no. Yet Mary's relatability shows us Jesus' humanity. He was stubborn, rebellious, and of course, a teacher. Now let's pause and return to what Elizabeth said once again. Blessed are you among women. I want to highlight the word among here. Blessed are you among women. Mary brought this fragile infant, this fleshed Messiah, into the world. He depended on her. She burped him, fed him, chased him when he began to walk, and then run into Egypt. Took him to the local synagogue to learn the law, and probably yelled at him if he decided to climb a tree. Yet at some point there was a reversal. She became dependent upon him as her teacher and as her shepherd. She became a disciple of the Messiah. Yet she was not alone. More women became disciples of Jesus. This included Mary and Martha, Mary Magdalene, and Susanna, let alone all the women who were part of the crowds that followed Jesus throughout Galilee. The women followed, or maybe I could say chased, Jesus in sandals, hiding their blistered feet. They carried little with them, in many cases without food or water. They jumped and scurried over hills and rocks and through sandy beaches just to get a glimpse of him. They presented themselves with all their imperfections, such as being demon-filled, too high-strung, or ridden with disease. As a result, women were part of Jesus' miracles, such as casting out Mary Magdalene's demons, the feeding of the 5,000, and the healing of the hemorrhaging woman. Women were also at the foot of the cross during Jesus' crucifixion. One of those women were Mary. Mary, the Mother Mary. Mary watched her human son come into this world and watched him leave this world in a slow, tragic, and brutal death. Looking through the lens of Mother Mary, the Blessed One among women, you would think that this would be the end of the Christ story, especially since she is no longer mentioned. Yet her blessedness is extended to all the women found in the gospel who followed Jesus. This is seen in all the resurrection stories. Fast forwarding towards Easter. I know it's Advent. Look at the women going to the tomb with the spices to anoint Jesus' body on the third day. And then they found an angel dressed in white robes saying, "He has risen." Look to the story of Mary Magdalene, thinking the resurrected Christ was only a gardener. And when all of this was happening, the disciples were scattered. Blessed are you among women, and among women who have seen Christ at the very beginning in his fragile human self, learning how to open his eyes, to the introduction of the miraculous divine Christ who connects us to God, God the Creator, the merciful, and the good of and in the world. Okay, I'm going to be honest. Spoke a lot about women in this sermon. Girl power, woohoo! I also just noticed that our singer and our liturgist are also women, so thank you. But what about all the boys and the men in this room? I want everyone to take a moment and think. I want you to think of the term, blessed are you, hard stop. Take a moment. What does that mean to you? Blessed are you. That is a complicated phrase to swallow. Perhaps we are all like Marian thinking, blessed am I? Really? Why am I so lucky to be blessed? Jesus came into this world to bless us all. He invites us to come as we are. We run into Calvin in our heels, flats, or even sneakers, with water bottles and coffee cups in hand, with our Bibles, crosses, or our beloved Steelers jerseys. We come with all that we are, with all our joys and hopes, with all our loneliness, discomforts, and sweaty brows. He is inviting us, yes, all of us. He invites us all to the feast at his table, to stand before the cross, to roll away the stone, and to kneel in front of the manger. Amen? Amen.